Hey everyone, welcome back. This will be the 5th episode on the 37 Plymouth convertible. We're up to August 20th now. August 20th. How about September? We just had a wicked storm come in from Montana, dumped 2 inches of rain on us here, and around us some places got up to 8 inches. So it finally looks like our drought's going to get a little bit of relief. So back working on the 37, and I got everything finished up on the passenger side, or the driver's side, as far as the rocker and that quarter repair. I got just a touch of planishing to do, left to do back here, and I got the quarter. Just let me get some stuff out of the way. I got the rocker finish welded and the TIG weld along the top here. That worked out really well. It's just going to need a thin bead of seam sealer now just to even it all out when the body shop does the body work. So I decided it was time to take a break. I didn't want to. What I find is when you've got 2 complicated repairs like this, I like to break it up a little bit, because going right from this one to the other side tends to drive me a little bit batty. So I decided to start working on the front section of the floor here. So let me grab a light. Get some light in here. So I had to take this toe board off. It was completely bent down. I don't know. Probably the engine didn't have a lot of power and they were pushing so hard on the gas pedal that they tore it all apart. But there was 8 broken bolts that I had to get out. They're all quarters, and they were all broke off flush or below flush. So it was real fun. Again, welded a washer on, then a nut, and surprisingly they all came out. I got every one of them out. So the other thing on the bottom of this, there was a bunch of there was 3 of the rivet nuts that they had in there that were completely buggered up. They tried to drill them out and they got them off center. So I had to take them out, weld a little patch on the back, and then I put in a new rivet nut. And I got that all straightened out. Just getting the broken bolts, that piece straightened out, and the new rivet nuts took me about 4.5, 5 hours yesterday. Next thing I started on was the filler piece that goes in up there. I just slide it in place here. I'm just doing final trimming. I've got it set with Clecos. It bends up, and then there's those captured nuts that will get screwed into there. I then have to figure out, I think that hole in the center is where the shifter goes, and I'm going to have to build the brace that goes around there that ties it into the floor here. So the other thing I had, because this has got these brakes in it for strength and to go over top of the cross member, I had to put the step in it this way to overlap, and then I had to bring the step up enough to overlap these step ups. So it was pretty complicated. I did that on the bead roller. I had to keep changing the die from top to bottom to get the right orientation. And then the next problem I had was this frame stiffener they put in here, which looks like it was a last minute thing, has got a big carriage bolt here that sticks up. And I had to figure out how to put some dimples in the floor to get this to sit down. So after I got this piece in place, I put some reference marks. I measured centers. I measured center off of this body mount bolt, found the center, and then I took a washer, a body washer, and I taped it to the top of this, set the panel in place, and I'll just go over to the other side and I'll show you how I put that in there. Put this up in place. So it was kind of a domed washer. I think it might have been from a shock. And I taped that to the top of the carriage bolt, centered really nice. I put the panel in, clecoed it in place, and then I took the appropriate size socket, and I had a circle marked right where this dimple was, and I took a 3/4 drive socket, the right diameter, and my favorite BFH, and I gave it a whack, and it put the perfect dome in it for clearance on that carriage bolt. So next thing I'm going to do is get the rest of these holes drilled across here, put rivet nuts in, and then I'm going to bring the front of it up and transfer the holes from the rivet nuts that are there onto my sheet, drill the corresponding holes, and I can drill, and then I can bolt the whole thing together, and then I can figure out what I'm going to put in for beads and what I have to do for structure up here in the center where the shift comes through the floor. So once I get it all set up here, I'll bring you back. Okay, back again. So I've got everything done at the front. I've got all my holes drilled across the front of the second section of floor. Holy cow, tongue twister. I'll just go over to the other side here. So what I'm working on here now is I'm putting rivet nuts into this piece of floor for my to fasten the top section down. I'm using a steel rivet nut and just now I lost the tool right here, and the old Amazon RZX installer. So it's real important you get the right size drill bit and go tighter than looser, because you want these a snug fit. What's going on here? Okay. I don't have my the tool adjusted properly here, so it's not there we go. You don't want them coming loose. So what I'm using here is 10/24s on the back side, and the ones at the front are 1/4 20. Okay, I'll carry on. I'll get these all in, and then I'm going to show you the next step. Okay guys, so one of the problems with using rivet nuts is because it's riveted in, there is about 1 millimeter or just under 1/16 of an inch of the rivet nut that sits on top of the piece of steel that you're screwing to. So what ends up happening is it leaves a gap between your two pieces of steel. And there's a pretty easy way to overcome that. And I just made a simple tool here. What our goal is to put a little bit of a recess in there. I think you can see it there. So this will be the top side where the screw goes, and this recess will allow the two pieces of steel to sit flush. So what I did, I just have an old piece of 1-inch plate. I drilled a hole 3/16 of an inch in diameter, and then I took an old 3/8 drill bit and I cut a short piece off and pounded it into my hole. I then took a 7/16 bolt, and starting at the top, because there's an X in the top of the bolt, you can get a center. And even if it's not center, it's not real critical, because you can spin this as you hammer it. But drill a hole in there that will allow this bolt to go down and sit flush. with the plate. I then used this 7/16 bolt and a 1/2 washer, and I used this bolt to center the washer, and I tack welded it to the plate here. Then you take the piece of steel that you need to put the recesses in, lay it on top. You've already got the holes drilled. Take your 7/16 bolt, give it a couple of light taps, doesn't take a whole lot, and spin it, and it puts a real nice recess in. And then flip your piece over, give it a tap on top, and it'll just make it nice and flat. I'm going to do that to all 11 holes across the back side of this piece, and then I can screw it in there. Okay, so all of these raised little pieces I just put in, got everything sealed down nice and tight. There's absolutely no gap here now where this is sealed. Next thing I have to do is go underneath and mark where I'm going to put my beads. I'm going to need a short one here, same on the other side, and then one, maybe two in the center there. And then I have to build a piece, a flange, up at the front here around the shifter hole to tie into the floor. It kind of does a step up, and I couldn't figure out how to do that on this in one piece. So what I'm going to do is make a flange, and then I'll just plug weld it to the edge of the piece that I just put in there. And then the whole thing will be removable. So everything's nice and flat and strong. I'll get those beads marked out and we can continue with those. Okay guys, here we are, another new day. I got these beads rolled in, the 3 or 4 of them there. These wide beads I've found to really distort the panels bad. Having quite a time with it here. A little bit of oil canning. Not sure what I'm going to do there. I think I'm going to put another screw and anchor in just to hold this all down. And right now I'm working on these little fill-in pieces with that little step in the firewall that comes down. It's really hard to make them because it's got to come up, and then there's a bolt, and I'm welding it to the piece of floor I put in, and I'll take it out and then I'll finish weld everything. I'll weld it from the bottom as well as from the top, and then I can dress it all up with the grinder. And I'll probably drill a couple of holes here just to hold this stuff all down before I pull it all apart. So anyhow, I'm just going to carry on. I'm going to get the pattern made for that little piece over there, get it tack welded in, and then I can pull this out and get it welded in. Okay, we got the front section of the floors all done. I can't quite finish around the gear shift opening here until everything's completed and the transmission's back in. We didn't have that piece to go from, so I'm not sure how the finish is on it, so there's no point in getting carried away. I did some shrinking on both sides here, and then I added another 1024 screw and rivet nut, and it took all of the oil canning out of everything. I got the little pieces I was making at the front all welded in, sanded out, bolted up, and then I roughed everything in 60 grit sandpaper. So next thing I'll be doing is going over and starting on the rocker on the passenger side, do all the rocker repair and this quarter repair as well. This one's going to have to come up quite a ways, probably about 4 or 5 inches higher than the other side. So it's going to be a little bit tougher one to do, but we'll get her done. So glad to see the progress coming here. Once I get this rocker and that quarter done, then we're going to move on to the rest of the trunk or the floor, try and get that worked out, try and get some support in the back here so that I can figure out how to start building the inner fenders, tying them into the rest of the quarter panels here, and then this nasty repair on the back. So anyhow, that's where we're at. I'm going to call her good for this video. We'll get started on the next one. I don't think I'll bore you with the quarter repair on and the rocker on the passenger side. If I run into anything special, I'll definitely video it for you, and we can go from there. So once again, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in, subscribing, and just following along with me. So take care, everyone.